So it seems like everyone knows at least one person who's been laid off in the last year, and that person might even be yourself. So in this video, I want to talk about my experience of getting laid off and the lessons I've learned during this time. So I hope others can at least resonate or get some value from my experience. So I've been laid off since last November, and the last 3.5 months have been pretty crazy with all the emotions and all the ups and downs. So I first want to talk about what happened that day, and then go into a few lessons and tips I learned that I want to share with you guys that might even help a few people who are going through something similar. So what happened that day? So I got impacted on a Thursday, and I for some reason had a feeling that I was gonna be laid off soon. There wasn't any type of news or anything that I knew of beforehand. It was just a feeling of disconnection that I felt from my team for almost 6 months since the last layoff that happened in May. And the last one, that was the first time I experienced a layoff that directly impacted my team and also impacted multiple people that I knew and cared about. And although I wasn't the one that was impacted, I still felt really bad, and it was really hard for me because you felt like you lost people whom you got to see every day, got to know really well, and got to know what's going on in their personal life. But when I got impacted that day, I came into the office, saw a few people by the coffee machine, so I chatted with them for a few minutes. And then I saw my MD, who by the way was gonna lay me off in the next 10 minutes, walking down the hall. So I said hi to him. Didn't get much response from him, which I thought was kind of weird in the moment, but didn't think too much about it. And then literally a few minutes later, I would log in and see that 30 minutes ago, he had messaged me asking me whether I'd be coming into the office that day and whether I could meet him in a particular room on a different floor, which really only meant one thing. Now, for those who might not know, when they lay you off, they actually bring you to a different floor altogether, so they could basically escort you out after delivering the hard news. And then HR will come and retrieve your stuff from your locker and your desk, so there isn't any type of outburst or any drama like that that might happen after someone gets laid off and feels a lot of emotions. First thing I do after seeing this message is ask my manager if she knew what was going on. And then when I showed her the message, she was shocked because I think she knew what was going to happen too, and so she felt really bad, wished me luck, and hoped that everything was okay. So she knew what was going on, but at the same time, she was hoping it was something else. So basically, I headed towards the elevators, and I was freaking out on my way over because of the shock and disbelief that I was feeling still. And when I went over to that room, there was that same MD and then someone from HR. And then that MD basically mentioned that there's been a reduction in the workforce, that my position had been impacted, and that I no longer work at the firm, and pretty much left the room right after that, without showing any other emotions or any signs of feeling bad for doing this. But I guess that's part of doing business. And then the HR person walked me through the severance package, and then I pretty much packed my locker and then headed downstairs after that. And then I called my fiance and my mom and told them what had happened. I was really grateful that they were very supportive and comforted me, telling me that everything will be okay and that we'll go through this together. It was crazy because my fiance and I just bought a home within the last year. We also had a wedding coming up. So I was going through a lot of emotions. Like, I was angry, I was annoyed, I was frustrated. And I think for me, I was also feeling the excitement because I didn't know what my future might look like. And I knew that I needed to change or make a change given how different the work environment was since the last layoff. And then I was back to being nervous, and then the cycle of ups and downs went on. And after that, I felt a little sense of calmness from knowing that I actually wanted to pursue a different route with social media, which is something that I've always wanted to try and do. And it's actually really different when you become a content creator by choice and you end up quitting your job because you're preparing for it. But when you try to end up becoming a content creator not by choice, then it becomes really hard because there's a lot of pressure to succeed right away and try and make a living through it all. And this is on top of all the challenges that come with content creation in general. I'm constantly comparing myself to other creators. I'm basing my value with how well my videos perform and trying to find enjoyment in creating day in and day out, which can be a challenge of itself. And for anyone that's going through something similar with unemployment and being laid off, the first thing I would try to understand is at the end of the day, layoffs are not your fault and they're not based off of your performance. Like, I had a friend that was having a hard time accepting this because he felt like if he performed a little bit better and did a little bit better in his job, he could have been okay. But this was something that was out of our control. And now the second point, kind of going off the first point, there's no such thing as company loyalty anymore, as much as someone may want to believe there is. And companies will not be as loyal even if you give your heart and soul to the firm. So what does that mean? That means make sure you take your time off, take care of your mental health, visit your family, attend your kids' activity program, go on vacation, and ultimately don't let your work and work schedule dictate how you live your life. And the last advice is to brace yourself for a long road of unemployment, whether that might be 6 to 8 months or even a year. I really hope it's not as much shorter for anyone that's looking for a job right now. But even for me, I've been unemployed for 3.5 months, and I know others who've been looking much longer than I have. So I guess with that, that might help with two things. One is to pace yourself when you're applying for a job, and also try to not to get too discouraged when you're applying, because rejections can and will most likely pile up. And then number two is to try and pursue something while you're also looking for a job, like a hobby or an activity you've always wanted to try, which might be starting a new business, solo traveling, or seeing family and friends that you don't get to see often. And like I mentioned before, for me, this is something that I've always wanted to try with content creation for a little while now. So if you're interested in personal finance or financial independence, make sure you subscribe. And as a gift for you watching this video, I also have a free guide on financial independence where I talk about what financial independence is, why it's important, and how much you ultimately need to save for you to retire and never work again. So you can check that out for free using the link in the description below. And if you want to hear more about what's going on in the economy and what's going on with the layoffs, you could actually check out this video next that I made.